Hello everybody and welcome to SolidCode. In this tutorial we will be coding the Cut the Rope game. We will be working with Unity 2D, also with Unity Physics, so this is a tutorial that will help you a lot to start in coding 2D projects in Unity. Basically we will be coding this game that you can see here, which is like the prototype of the classic Cut the Rope game. So let's start. First, I want to let you know that I am going to use all the sprites that the repository Physics Examples 2D has in order to code our game. Basically, this is a repository that it works as samples or templates for Unity 2D physics projects. So in here you will find a lot of scenes that contains different things that you will need when you work on 2D, and is very useful. For example, here is something similar as what we are going to need for coding the ropes. And this repository, you can find it here. I will put the link in the description, and I will be using all the sprites that contains this folder right here. So that's a good thing to know. Now let's start to create the project. I'm going to click on new project. I'm going to select 2D core, and I'm going to put a name. I'm going to name it as Cut the Rope Video. Going to click on create project, and now it's creating it. Now that the project is created, we are going to start working on it. First, we can see that we only have a folder with scenes, and the first one is sample scene. We are going to rename it to level 1, and if we try to run this, we will see just a blue screen, right? So the first thing that I'm going to do is to import the sprites from the Unity 2D examples to the game. So I will go here, sprites, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to look for the Cut the Rope video, and in assets I'm going to paste this, and I'm going to go back to the Unity editor, and it's loading, and now we have the sprites. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to add the ground. So I think that one is here in tiles. I'm going to use this one, grass half mid. Okay, now here it is. We can see that the game object was added. We're going to make it bigger. Let's scale it for the moment. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Okay, maybe something like this for now. So now we have this game object. We are going to rename it as ground, and we can see also that this game object now has here as component a sprite renderer. So we also, for this component, we need to make it a rigid body. So we use rigid body 2D, and this will behave as a static and as simulated. Also, we need to add a box collider 2D in order to detect collisions with the ball when the ball is falling. So we are going to leave it like this for now, and we are going to edit the collider, and as we can see here, the collider is too big, so we are going to make it there to match the width and height of the sprite. So right now we have it here, and it is important that we will be using this ground in multiple levels of the game. So we want to create a new folder, and we are going to name it prefabs. So in this folder we will have multiple prefabs that we will be using in other scenes. So it is there, and now we can see that is a prefab. And if we run the game, we can see there is the ground. Now let's code the ball. So the ball is the most important thing in the game. Basically, when the character hits the ball, the level finished. So let's code that. First, I'm going to rename it, and I'm going just to name it as ball. And important here is that this ball will be also a rigid body 2D, but we need to put it as dynamic, and we need to use a physics material to implement the bounciness. So what I'm going to do is create another folder, and I'm going to name it materials, and I'm going to create a material here. We right click on here, create 2D, physics materials 2D, and we will use a friction of 0 and a bounciness of 0.5. So now we have the material. Let's go back to the ball and let's add the physics material here. I'm going to rename it as bounciness ball, and we go back to the to the object material, and we put it here. Next thing we need is to add a circle collider to this ball. So circle collider 2D, and we will make the radius a little bit smaller so it matches the whole radius of the ball. Now let's test this. So we should have the ball bounciness working. So now we have this working. So another thing that we need to do now is convert this ball into a prefab as well, because we will be using it in other levels of the game. So now we have two prefabs. So now let's start to work on the ropes. For that, I will start by adding this item here that it will be like the anchor of the rope itself, like the hook. So I'm going to add it in there for now, maybe a little bit smaller, in there. I'm going to rename it as rope. And inside that, we will need to use these chains in order to implement the rope or the chain. So I'm going to put it right here for now. First, I forgot that I need to add a rigid body to the hook, and it has to be static because it's not going to move. Now with the chain, we're going to make it bigger for now, something like that for now, and I'm going to move it right here. And the important thing about this chain is that we need to add two hinge joints. So we're going to add two hinge joints to these. As you can see, it also adds a rigid body 2D, and we are going to work it as dynamic and without physics material. So this adds this hinge joint right here. We can see it there is this blue spot right here. We're going to move it a little bit up. So let me see. How can I move it? Y. There. So there is like the connection with the hook for this change right here. And what we are going to do is that we are going to add another one to connect the next one. So I will move it like down, like there. Okay, I'm going to save that for now, and I'm going to rename it as link. So this is like the connection for the rope, and I need to make this as a prefab as well. So there it is. Now it is a prefab, and now I can add it inside the rope because I will have two of them, well, maybe three for this rope. So I'm going to do that. So now I have three links, right? I just copied them. So let's see how it works. So for the link one, let's see first the first hinge joint. So it's this one right here. So we are going to connect that to the rope. So we drag and drop the rope here. The next one, it will go to the link 2. We do the same. Now for the link 2, we are going to remove the upper one and just leave the one below, and that will connect to link 3. And link 3, it will connect to, we're going to remove the one that is up, and we are going to connect the below one with the ball. So something like that. Now we are going to test it, and we can see that the ball is there and is hanging from the rope. Now we need to implement the cutter. So basically when we use the mouse and cut through here, the rope will break. So let's code that. For that I will add that to the object. That will be a circle, and I'm going to move it here for now. I'm gonna make it way smaller for now, maybe something like that. I'm going to rename it as cutter, and I need to add a circle collider to the, so the idea is that when it collides with the links, it will do an action, right? So it will be a circle collider like that, and it is matching the proper size. Yeah. So yeah, there it is. So we have it there, and if we run the game now, this doesn't do anything, right? So what we need to do is code and script for the implementation of the cutter. For that, I will create a new folder that will be called scripts. And in here, I'm going to create a C# script, and we'll name it cutter. So there it is. That script will be very simple. It just have an update function, and it will follow the mouse position. That's it. Now here in the game, we need to add that script to the object. So we're going to add that script right there. We save, and let's test it. So now it's following the mouse as we expected. We also are going to convert our cutter to a prefab because we're going to need it in other places. Now we need to implement that when this circle, the cutter, passes through the link, it will cut the links, right? So we are going to add another script, and we are going to call it link. The link script will do the following. When detects a collision of 2D objects, it will ask if the tag of the object that is colliding is the player, and if so, it will destroy the whole rope. For this, it will detect which link was collided, will get the parent, and it will destroy all the children of that parent. For that, we need to change the tag of the cutter and put it as player. Now we go to the links, and we are going to add that script. So add component, and we are the link. There it is. Also, something very important that I forgot is to add a capsule collider to the links, capsule collider 2D. So for example, now let's see it. If I see the collider right there, I need to click on here, edit collider geometry, and now I can make it smaller. And I will do the same for the rest of the links. And now it's working. The next thing that I'm going to do is to code the stars that the ball collides with, and they go up to a counter. So I'm going to do an object that is called stars, and I'm going to search this star right here. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to make it a little bigger, maybe something like that. Actually, I just imported other stars that I had for a recent project, and one will be the star itself and the other one the placeholder. So the same thing we do, we go here, we make it smaller. So for now it will be like that. I'm going to rename it as just star. And for now, well, also let's add the placeholder because we will also need it. And let's rename it as well. And for these stars, the yellow ones, we are going to add a circle collider 2D, because when they collide with the ball, we need them to implement an action. So there it is. And the placeholder ones won't need anything of that because their action will be just to be a placeholder up here. And now let's convert them to prefabs because as well we are going to need them a lot. So there it is. Now they are prefab, and let's add them to this container. And I'm going to add three of each and rename them. Now we have all the elements that we needed, and now we need to create another script for the star implementation. So create C# script and name it as a star. In this script we will need a public game object to know the destination of the star. That means the placeholder that it has to go when it collides with the ball. We will reference to the collider, and what we're going to do is to detect the enter of the trigger collision with the ball. And when that happens, we're going to move the star to the counter, and we just transform the object's position. Now we come to our prefab, and let's add that script star. So now all of them should have this star. So the star one is going to go to the placeholder one, the second one to the second one, and so on. Other things that we need to change is that in the prefab of the star we need to put the ordering layer as 1, so it goes a layer above the placeholders. And also here in the circle collider we need to activate the is trigger. If you want to know why is that, you can see one of my last videos on why that is happening and why we need that as a trigger. But yeah, now it is working. Now we need to implement a character that will eat the ball. So basically I have this sprite sheet where it has different positions and animations of this character. So what I'm going to do is to create a game object sprite. I'm going to create it empty, and I'm going to name it main character. I'm going to add an sprite renderer, and the sprite will be this one for now. So it will add the first one, the first instance of this sprite sheet. So as you can see, the first one is this one, the sharp animations 0. So now we have the main character there, and he will need a circle collider 2D. For now we can leave it just like that. And now we need to add the animation, so we are going to add an animator object, and now we go to window, animation, and animation, and we create a new one. I'm going to name it as main character. Okay, now that created this right here, that it will be the controller and this animation. If we go to the prefab, we can see here that in the animator now as controller it has something. So let's create the animation. So there we have the main character. I renamed it as idle because we are going to start with the idle animation. And now I will do an animation that goes from the 16 to the 21. So first drag and drop here. Sorry. Actually, I made a mistake. What I should do is go here, animation, animation again, and instead of naming main character, I just name the idle itself, and it creates both the controller and the idle animation. And now on this view, I'm going to select from the 16 and go here. Now it added them all, and now I need to separate them. So there it is. I separated them between 10% of second, and you can see now when it's going to be idle it will be like that. Now if I go to the animator, I can see that the first state is going to be idle, so when the game starts he will be doing that animation. Now let's create the byte animation. For that I will just do the same thing, window, animation, animation, and create a new clip, and I'm going to call it byte. And I will do the same thing that I did for the idle, but I will be using other sprites, specifically from 33 to 37. Now there it is, and it will look like that. And now in the animator I need to create a transition from idle to byte. Let's click it here. Okay. For some reason the preview is not working for me now, but let's suppose that it is working. First we need to add a trigger here, and then name it byte collision. And now here in the transition I should be able to add it. Yeah, let's remove first and let's add byte collision. There it is. And now we need to create the opposite, from byte to idle. And this one we will leave it as has exit time. Now if we go to the game, our main character is only on idle mode, so we need to implement a script in order to change when the ball comes here, right? For that I will create the script character. So this script, what we'll do is to check on collision enter, and if the collision is with the ball, is going to put the collider of itself as false. I mean, it will be disabled, and also it will trigger the byte collision trigger from the animation. So it will look something like this, and as you can see now it's trying to do the bite. It is also important to know that I added the script character to the main character, and now we need to make the ball disappear when it collides with the character. So we're going to create a ball script, and in this script we will check for the collision with the main character. If so, we are going to disable the collider of the ball and disappear the ball as well. And if it collides with the ground, we are going to restart the scene, so it starts like at the beginning of the scene at the initial state. So this is the result that we have now, and now it is working similar at what we expect. I will leave the video here, and I will do a second video explaining how I did the transition and the levels 2 and 3, which are very similar to this one. So I will do that in another video, so this one doesn't take any longer. And then I will code more difficult levels, like the ones that have enemies or more obstacles. Also, I remember that this game has some elements like bubbles, and I remember a spider, I guess. So I will be trying to code those levels in another videos, and in those levels we will learn more things like enemies, spawning, artificial intelligence, and collision with other objects. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this channel if you like this kind of content, and see you next time. Bye.